Mark Kosower. Nós somos amigos há 20 anos, desde a época da Juilliard. E eu me lembro que na classe que a gente estudava, o nosso professor criava uma interação muito grande entre os alunos, e isso foi muito especial. E ele falava que muitos tinham aprendido com os professores que estudaram no bacharelado, e no caso do Mark, ele tinha passado muitos anos com o Janos Starker. E para mim foi muito importante entender alguns dos conceitos do Starker através das falas do Mark. A outra coisa que eu acho muito especial do Mark é que ele veio ao Brasil já várias vezes, nos encontros de cello do Rio, veio a Natal 2 vezes, foi a São Brás do Suaçuí, foi a Belo Horizonte, e ele sempre adiciona muito ao Brasil. Ele trata com muito respeito o trabalho feito aqui e sempre adiciona várias coisas. Just a quick translation, Marks. I'm saying that I'm thanking you for showing up here tonight. And you have many fans in Brazil, you know. And I'm very grateful that we've been friends for over 2 decades. And I was lucky to be with you and with so many other wonderful cellists in Joe Krosnick's class at the time. And he always encouraged us to learn from each other, and I learned a lot from you about Starker's way of thinking the cello, and I always asked you quite a lot about it, and I think you have a very interesting view on how Starker connected technique and music. And also I said you have a strong connection to Brazil. You've been here many times, to Rio, to Minas, and you have a very you know, your attitude is always wonderful because you add to the work that has been done here. Because we have some people coming sometimes that they say, you know, everything that happens in Brazil is horrible and I'm here to save you. And that's, and that's never your attitude. It's always of building and contributing. And I think this is really a wonderful attitude that you have with all the cellists here. And that's why I think you have so many fans also, not because only of your wonderful playing, but your attitude with the students, which is very kind.
Well, you know, first of all, let me say, I think you and I were very privileged to get to study at Juilliard at the time we studied there with the types of musicians we had access to, you know, from, of course, Joel Krosnick to your other teacher, Harvey Shapiro, to Robert Mann, and also just our colleagues, the level of players that were there, and we got to hear on a daily basis the kind of talent. And it was a very stimulating and exciting environment to be in. And I've enjoyed so much getting to know you over the years, and also just seeing how you've contributed to music and how you've, in particularly, have gone to Brazil and have promoted Brazilian music in a way that, you know, and in a way, I mean, I don't want to call you necessarily a pioneer, but in many cases, that's exactly what you are. I mean, how you're bringing this music, important music, to the forefront that may otherwise and has been up until now neglected. And on top of that, performing the standard repertoire and teaching in a city that great cello playing is no stranger to, with the Perizzo legacy in Natal. And frankly, Brazil's been a very easy country for me to warm up to, because it was an immediate kind of thing, just because the people were so open, and the cellists I encountered, they're just hungry to learn. They want to learn. They're interested. They're you know, people are serious about what they're doing, and they're searching for answers, learning about things. And that's the kind of environment that I want to be in. So that's why it's always kind of an easy fit for me to teach and to be a part of the musical community in Brazil.
Well, thank you very much, Mark. I guess I'll start with the first question, and then I'll open up to people to contribute. Um, and one of the things that I always admired about your teaching, and I try to steal that for my own teaching, is that let's say Starker has really made a revolution in cello technique teaching with the idea of anticipation circles, but you always link that with music, with timing, and with breathing. It's never separate. And I mean, if you can just talk a little bit about that or give a short example, because this is one of the things that I really admire in your teaching.
Well, sure, certainly. Sometimes, in Starker's teaching, the kinds of things he talked about were so, and useful and important for cello playing, but not everybody made the connection between that and what it actually is serving. So for example, I think it can be simplified pretty straightforward, in a straightforward way. Simply, it goes to, you can start in the chamber music world, and that is whatever gesture or motion you prepare, that's what it's going to sound like. And so the idea is, and if you think about, I mean, there are many different types of music, but most music has shapes and phrases, architecture, certainly the traditional classical music up until the First World War and even much of the 20th and 21st century music. It's, of course, based on going back to early times, the Baroque and before Renaissance. But everything in the natural world pretty much doesn't have a perfectly mathematical straight line. Most everything has curves and has shapes and designs and patterns and the likes. And we human beings, being products of nature, we need to move in and create shapes like the music we want to hear. And so that's where the technique comes into play, with circular moving, shifting up and down the fingerboard. But you're right in that all the analysis and the specific way of going about things is great, as long as it's for what purpose. You never can lose the musical idea, and all the musical idea is the fuel for coming up with your own answers. And what happens is, if you take technique and you separate it too much from the source, then it becomes something objective unto itself, and it loses its meaning. An example, I don't know, take anything. What's the first thing to mind? I don't know. Well, even something classical, like hide and see or something like that. I mean, I could play, for example. And I think we've all heard that before, but that's fine. What I just did, it's good. It's generally in tune. It's in time. All the sort of basics are there, but it has a little bit of an upright, uptight, mechanical feel to it, because I didn't prepare or think of a specific idea or musical gesture before I played. I just kind of mechanically played it and did things quote unquote correctly. So if I now think about, like, if I was playing in a palace, and also the key, it's C major, that kind of no clouds in the sky, joyful. What else is C major known? Even salvation, the idea that this kind of thing, the composers in the time of Haydn thought about these things. And I just gave a talk the other day talking about parameters, meaning when you're doing an artistic activity, there are many possibilities, but there are also pieces of knowledge and facts that we collect, and they sort of create boundaries, for meaning that there's all these possibilities, but it must exist within the facts of what we know. So, you know, and so now going to Haydn, we know certain things about the classical style. We know certain things about Haydn himself, the concerto, the type of writing by looking at other music of Haydn. And so then if I take those things into consideration and try to do something a little more musical,